Hello and welcome to Jason Live. My name is Patrick Shea, and I'm here today to help you tackle an age-old question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Here at Jason, we think a great answer to that question is a career in STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. But you don't have to take our word for it. We have assembled an amazing network of STEM role models, people who are actively in STEM careers, and they would love to see you follow in their footsteps. Today we have Dr. Nicole Raineault. Nicole is a marine geologist and a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Rhode Island. Welcome, Nicole. We're going to connect with her in just a moment. But first, I want to remind everybody out there that this event is both live and interactive. If you take a look just below the video window, you'll see a box. That box you can use to send in questions and comments for Nicole. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. You can start sending them in now. And we'll try to get you all involved. But right now, we want to get Nicole involved. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, we're very happy to have you. So let's jump right into it because we have a lot of people out there and they are fascinated by you and your career. They've been able to read a little bit about you in your profile. But why don't you just start with the basics? Tell me, what is your career? What does a marine geologist do?
Well, it's been a whirlwind adventure to get here. And a marine geologist, the job that I do is a researcher at the University of Rhode Island. I'm working in particular with a group at the University of Rhode Island known as the Corps of Exploration with the EV Nautilus. Our mission on the Nautilus is to go out and explore the unknown parts of the ocean and broadcast all of the exciting findings live over the internet so that everybody can see it and participate in the science that we're doing. So when we go out on the ship, we usually have a group of scientists that come with us, and we work with engineers who pilot our ROVs, who produce the video that goes out over the web. We work with educators to get the information out, and again, we're exploring the unknown, so we never know what we're going to find, and we have to be prepared for anything.
Excellent. Well, we're prepared for anything here, and what we're prepared for at the moment is our first question. Just came in from Alan. Should be able to see it on your screen there. He wants to know, what is the difference between marine geology and other geology?
Well, hi, Alan. Marine geology in particular focuses on the geology of the ocean and the coastal zones. So as a marine geologist, initially I started studying beaches and coasts. I got excited in that as a student at the University of Maine, where I was studying oceanography and geology. And then as my career path has evolved, I've moved offshore into deeper waters. So I've looked at the rocks on the continental shelf, the shallow zone right off of our coastlines, and now with the EV Nautilus, we're exploring the deep regions of the ocean. So marine geology is sort of a field that encompasses all of the rocks that were in the ocean and perhaps are on land now or are currently underwater.
Great. We have a video question coming in next. This is from Francisco, and he's got a friend there too. Forget her name.
Hi, I'm Francisco. And I'm Maria, and we're here at our Nautilus board where we learn about ocean, landforms, and Hercules, your robot explorer. We want to know why you study underwater volcanoes.
Hi, what a beautiful poster that was, or bulletin board. Why do we study underwater volcanoes? Well, to understand how our Earth has formed, really a lot of these processes that are occurring deep in the seafloor, like volcanism, and are occurring at areas where there are plate tectonics. That's where a lot of these volcanoes form. Help us answer questions about how the Earth has evolved over time, how things have changed, and how our Earth is formed, which is really central to understanding Earth processes.
Great. We have another video question coming in. This one is from Ethan.
I was wondering, what's the most interesting landscape you've ever seen underwater?
Hi, Ethan. Nice t-shirt. Well, the most interesting landscape to me was the Athena mud volcano that we looked at last year off of the coast of Turkey. And this was a mud volcano that in the research I had done, what was reported in the literature seemed like it was going to be a pretty small mud volcano, something that maybe wasn't going to be very interesting. But then when we stuck the robots down there, these remotely operated vehicles with the video cameras, the footage that you're looking at right now is from those vehicles, you could see just this completely chaotic landscape. There were large carbonate crust formations, which is what you're looking at, and some of them are covered with sediment. There were active bubbling vents at the top of this mud volcano. So it was completely unexpected and just very excited. And it's something that I'm looking at today to try to explain how it formed.
Very cool. Another video question coming in for you. Just a sec here, as soon as I pull it up. This one is from Madeline.
I'm Madeline, and I was wondering what your favorite discovery was and why was it your favorite?
Well, my favorite discovery occurred last season when we were off of the Eratosthenes seamounts just south of Cyprus. We were on a transit with the ROVs in the water, so the video cameras were on, and we were going from one place to another when we came across that weird sort of arc-shaped feature that was right over that the split there in the seafloor. The canyon, and we weren't sure what it was, and we were going to pass right over it. But then there was something that made me decide that we should stop the ship and turn around and go back and look. So it was a very exciting moment because it was something completely unexpected, and making the decision to turn around and go back led to the discovery of fossilized whale bones. So while we were turning back and looking at this feature, we had all sorts of scientists in the control van on the ship where we operate out of, discussing what this formation could possibly be. We were able to involve scientists on land to have experts look at the video and tell us that indeed they were whale bones, and we were able to get samples of them for other scientists to look at and then identify further.
It's very cool. I actually have a follow-up question. This one is from Aaron. Let's take a look there. He wants to know, on most days, do you discover something?
Yes, on most days we do discover something, and that's the really exciting thing about being out in the field and having that data, taking it back. So we spend maybe 4 months a year at sea collecting all sorts of data, just going to unknown places and discovering things on a daily basis that we didn't know. And then we get the data back in our offices and are able to use that data to make even more discoveries by analyzing the data and talking to other researchers and figuring out what it was we were seeing.
It's pretty amazing. You wouldn't think that, we've been out there exploring for so long, you wouldn't think there was so much left to discover that we could do it on a daily basis. It's fascinating.
Right.
Awesome. We're going to get another video question in here next. This one is from Samantha.
So you're a marine geologist, and I've wondered what you like best about your work.
My favorite thing about my work is using the amazing tools and technologies that we have on the Nautilus, from the remotely operated vehicles, those tethered robots, to the new mapping system, which I'm really excited about. We put a new mapping system on the EV Nautilus, and we're going to be able to produce some really great exploratory maps of areas that have previously been uncharted. And with that, we'll be able to target our exploration. So I love going out into the field and discovering new things and working with these diverse and amazing teams of people to make these new discoveries.
Cool. And on a related note, this is another text question coming in from Uma. Do marine geologists use similar tools to the one that land geologists use?
Good question. I think the tools are a little bit different. On land, we can see the rock formations that we're looking at, and the thing about the ocean is that it's covered in water and you can't see most of it. So most of the areas that we're looking at as well are too deep for scuba divers, so we have to come up with new techniques, new methods to study the seafloor, and that's where these acoustic mapping systems that we're installing on the ship this year come into play. You may know that dolphins and bats use echolocation to find things. They send out sound and wait for it to return and sort of come up with a picture of where things are. With the ship, we're doing a similar thing. We have a acoustic sensor on the bottom of the ship that emits a sound and waits for that sound to return. And each time it does that, it's providing lots of soundings of the seafloor, which paint a bathymetric map as you're seeing now, showing this is the canyons off of Toulon, France. So with that data, with the map that we're able to create, you can kind of see below the surface of the water and plan your exploration and target that then with other tools to take sediment samples with the ROVs, put video cameras, put eyes on the bottom and see more rich detail about what's on the ocean floor.
That's great. I'm sure we're going to swing back around and answer more questions about your current career in a little bit, but I want to shift gears a little bit, talk about how you got into this kind of role, and I want to start off with a video question. This is from Chrissy.
I'm Chrissy, and I was wondering, as a child, did you ever imagine yourself being where you are today?
Great question, Chrissy. This is honestly a dream come true for me. I always hoped to be an oceanographer, and from very early on, I wanted to be an ocean explorer. I was lucky enough to grow up close to the ocean, so I think I was inspired early on to be interested in this career. And then having read lots of Robert Ballard's books and Rachel Carson's books, I was just inspired to study nature. And I always wanted to be an explorer. That's what I wanted to do. So this is something that I've always dreamed I would do, and it feels great to be here.
Awesome. We have another video question coming up. This one is from Sophia.
What are the hardships you faced on the way to your career?
There were a lot of obstacles, I think, in terms of, for me, being able to understand mathematics. That was a subject that never came easily to me. But I think the most important thing is practicing and being persistent, talking to my teachers and trying to get help on subjects that were tough. Sometimes the most difficult things for me, including math and coding, writing computer programs to analyze data, are also the most rewarding things. So if there are things that you find difficult that you think might be an obstacle to becoming a scientist, I think you should push past those and really try to find help in ways to understand those things that are difficult.
One question that we hear all the time with female scientists is, was it hard because you're a woman and the field is tends to be men? We actually just got a text question from Liana. Have you ever felt that your job or your field has been dominated by men?
Yes, I feel that there are a lot of men in oceanographic and mapping sciences, but I've never felt that was a hindrance. I've always felt really supported in the career path that I've chosen, and I don't think it's a barrier to being a scientist or a marine geologist at all.
Great. We have a question coming in right now from Doug. Doug wants to know, were you ever in a situation where you were scared or nervous to do your job?
Sure. There have been plenty of times where you kind of feel maybe you're a little bit out of your element. I think the scariest thing that ever happened on the job to me was the first time I was able to take leadership on a mission with the autonomous underwater vehicle. This is a freely swimming robot that I used as a PhD student at the University of Delaware. And we were going on a trip to the Bahamas. That's actually a picture of it in the Bahamas. And the first day that we set it off on a mission, you program it from the ship and you tell it where you want it to go to map things and take pictures and measurements of temperature and salinity of the seawater. And it dives down to depth and runs a little survey pattern, like a lawnmower pattern over the bottom, and then is supposed to come back up to the surface. And the very first time that I was in charge of this, it didn't come back. And we had to make the tough decision because night was falling and we were on a vessel that couldn't stay out overnight to return to land and then go search for it the next day. So that was a very scary moment for me. And luckily we recovered the autonomous vehicle, and everything from there with the research went fine. But there are scary moments, but you usually are working with a team of people who can help you past it.
Great answer. We're going to give Nicole a break from answering questions for just a second here, and we're going to turn around and ask you a question. This is what we call our Stump the Audience game. Nicole has come up with 3 questions in multiple choice format. There are 2 true answers in all of these and 1 false answer, and we're asking all of you out there to identify which is the false answer. So the first one you should see, again, just in the box just below the video window here. And the question is, which body of water has Nicole not done research in? Is it the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, or the Arctic Ocean? What do you think? Put in your answer now. And we'll let you know which is the false answer in just a second here. So far, 100% are guessing the Arctic. And Nicole, you kind of gave away one of the answers just a second ago when you were talking about using the AUV in the Caribbean. Let's see, 75% say Arctic now. Mediterranean is coming up. Still people voting for Caribbean, 22%. But Nicole, what is the correct answer?
The correct answer is the Arctic, and I would love to do research there. It's an area that I think has so much to be discovered in, so it would be amazing to get there someday.
Agreed. We're ready for the next Stump the Listener, Stump the Audience game question, and this one is, which of the following has Nicole not mapped? Has she not mapped subway cars on the seafloor, invasive clams in Lake Tahoe, or submarine canyons near San Francisco? Which of those areas has Nicole not mapped? Questions, let's see, we've got responses coming in, 50-50. Let's see, they think the false answer, 60% think invasive clams. And we're going to close this in just a second. Oh, there's a tie for subway cars and invasive clams. No, invasive clams has taken the lead again. Nicole, what is the false answer in that one?
The false answer are the submarine canyons off of San Francisco. I've mapped the invasive clams in Lake Tahoe using image technology. So we were doing surveys with that autonomous underwater vehicle that you saw a picture of earlier. And the vehicle has a camera on it, and we would run survey missions around the perimeter of the lake to try to detect these white clamshells from...
Sorry, Nicole, I was
okay,
a background conversation trying to get our next question going.
We were using images in that case to map the clam populations of these invasive clams in Tahoe. And then the subway cars was part of my research from my PhD research. And that was a really interesting site because the state of Delaware has put over 900 retired New York City subway cars off of the beach in Rehoboth, Delaware, as a way of attracting fish and creating an artificial reef. So I was there mapping how sediment patterns and the seafloor changes around these artificial reefs.
Pretty cool. All right, we're going to jump into our last Stump the Audience question here. Which technique does Nicole not use to study the seafloor? Is it scuba, acoustic maps, or images and video? Which one does Nicole not use to study the seafloor? I think we've got answers coming in. Everybody is guessing scuba, and they might have enough information to get this one completely right at this point. What do you think?
I think
that
so.
bar is not moving.
You guys are right. I can't check you on that one. It was scuba.
Excellent. All right, we're going to move along here and get back into some additional questions. If I can turn the page, we can find out what's coming up. All right. Coming up next is a video question. This one is from Hayden.
I read that you like to hike and do outdoor sports, so what sports did you like to do when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I loved hiking. I loved running. I've always loved running and swimming. Swimming was one of my favorite activities, whether it was in the ocean or in the swimming pool.
So we see here hiking in Missouri.
That was the Missouri Lakes Trail in Colorado. It was a beautiful, beautiful spot. And there I am running. That was part of a triathlon I did this past fall.
Now, one of the options that Hayden did not mention was this. Can you tell me what's going on in this picture?
Sure, that's ice sailing. That was a really fun opportunity I had in Rhode Island. The lake froze over enough that we were able to go out and ice skate, and one of my friends had a ice sailing board. So it's like a skateboard but has blades on the bottom, and then you use a windsurfing sail.
But the big question is, can you attach a multi-beam to the bottom of that board?
Mapping ice, yes. Try that for the future.
Cool. We have another video question coming up. This one is from Camden.
I read that you like to read. I was wondering what book genres you like to read.
Mostly I like fiction, fiction from writers like Fitzgerald, Hemingway, John Steinbeck. Those are the types of books I read most. I spend a lot of my time reading scientific literature as well.
Got it. We have one more video question in this segment, and this one comes from Noah.
Hello, I'm Noah.
And I'm Tyler.
And our question to you is, what is life like at sea on the Nautilus, and
what do you do in your spare time? And do you enjoy it, or do you not enjoy it?
I love life on the Nautilus. Really, it's a second home to me. Life is like you always have a family with you, I suppose. You're working with this group of people who are scientists, educators, engineers. You have the ship's crew, and there's always something going on. We do expeditions or an exploration 24 hours a day, so there's always something exciting potentially happening. We don't have a lot of spare time on the Nautilus. Usually when I'm not sitting a watch, which is sitting for 4 hours at a time watching what's going on, I'm processing data or catching up on some kind of work that I have to do. But occasionally we take breaks to do a swim call perhaps, or to work out.
Cool. Avery is out in our audience today, and she wants to know, what is the toughest part of your day?
Well, the toughest part of my day, I think, varies based on what I'm doing. One of the constant challenges of trying to prepare for exploration and expeditions is communicating and with lots of different groups of people. So you're always answering emails or phone calls about planning the future expedition, and sometimes just coordinating people from around the world in different time zones can be a big challenge.
So on the flip side of that, question from Madeline, what is the favorite part of your job?
The favorite part of my job is doing the exploration, being out in the field, collecting data, and then analyzing that data. I really enjoy taking the maps that or the mapping data that we've collected and looking at it and making new discoveries.
All right, we're going rapid fire with questions now. Vivian wants to know, have you ever been in the Mariana Trench or been over it? If so, what's it like? She has been interested in it for a while.
I have not been to the Marianas Trench. I would love to. The Nautilus is set to be in the Pacific in perhaps 3 or 4 years from now, so hopefully I'll get a chance to, and that will be broadcast live over the internet, so you could tune in too and watch.
Very cool. Jason wants to know, what was the most interesting location you have visited?
This is probably similar to the question earlier, probably the Athena mud volcano, because it was so unexpectedly different from any of the other terrain that we had seen. We'd been studying mud volcanoes for 2 weeks at that point in the region, and this one just looked so different from any of the other mud volcanoes we'd seen, and again, it was maybe not expected to be as chaotic and alien a terrain as it turned out to be.
Okay, we're going to go to a video question now. This one is from Lauren.
Who do you look up to when you need advice?
Well, there's a group of people that I work with here, and they're always here to answer questions. Over the years, I've been inspired by Dr. Ballard, so I always have him to look to for advice as well. And on other questions, my parents are probably the biggest supporters of my career and are the first people I go to when I have questions that I want answered.
Our audience has questions. Kelly wants to know what advice you would give to somebody who's interested in becoming a marine geologist.
I would say pursue those interests as you can through your education, whether that be through taking courses as a high school student, and when you get to college, take geology classes, look for majors in the sciences and earth sciences in particular. And then when you have the opportunity, find someone who's research you enjoy and find out how you can help them. Volunteer in their lab or volunteer to help them in the field. People are always looking for help, and it's a great way to learn new things and to build networks.
And if they do that and become a marine geologist, we have a question from Nick that looks into the future. What new developments in ocean exploration do you think will occur by the year 2025? So 12 years from now, some of these kids will probably be in the field by then. What can they expect?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the newest advancements in technology has been the autonomous underwater vehicle, those unmanned submersibles. And one of the limiting factors using these robots for exploration is their battery life. They can only go down for maybe a couple days or a week, depending on what kind of sensors you have on it. And I think that people are really working to develop autonomous vehicles that can be deployed for longer periods of time. And as the technology perhaps gets cheaper, you'll be able to deploy more of these and use them in unison with other sensors or other vehicles to do exploration.
Speaking of AUVs, we have an ROV question coming in right now. This one's from Elena. This year, our school participated in an ROV competition. What advice can you give to the future participants?
Definitely just stay involved and be very active in learning how to build them, how to operate them. I think that's a great opportunity that I certainly never had. So you're already way ahead of where I was in. But again, stay interested and ask lots of questions, figure out how things work, and don't be afraid to take risks.
Chloe wants to know, how can I start taking action in a career like yours when I am only a child?
Well, there are lots of ways you can start reading books, follow us on Nautilus Live and ask lots of questions so that you can figure out what type of career path you can have and how to get there. Go out and explore the world around you. Just being curious about things and trying to find out answers is what science is all about. So if you keep just continuing your interests and asking lots of questions, then you're doing well, and you could be a marine geologist or whatever it is you decide in the future you want to be.
Cool. We have our last video question of the day. Here it comes. This one's from Brooke.
Hi, my name is Brooke, and my question is, do you find it difficult getting adjusted to living on a ship versus living on land?
Good question. I think I adjust rather well to being on a ship. The thing that I found most difficult at first, and perhaps that scared me away from being a seafaring marine scientist at first, was that I do get seasick. And people say that there's a ship that everyone will get seasick on, so it's just a matter of finding the one that kind of makes you seasick. But there are ways of dealing with that, and I found that I really love the life of being on a ship and working together with a group for a common goal. It's a really special environment that I think particularly that I enjoy and am suited to.
Cool. We are almost out of time. I'm going to try to squeeze in a few last questions here. This one's from Trevor. He wants to know, what tools do you use and what's your favorite and why?
Well, so I use a lot of the robotic technology for my research, and that's using these remotely operated vehicles that are tethered to the Nautilus. They provide a live video feed from the seafloor, so you can see what the organisms and geology are like that are down there, and you can also take samples. So we do things like push cores with the ROVs. We take grab samples of rocks or organisms that live there. I also use mapping technology. So there are mapping sensors on the ROV themselves, and then this year, for the first time, the Nautilus has mapping sensors on the hull of the ship. So we're going to use those to first map an area broadly and then target interesting areas with ROV dives.
Great. This next question is from Jacob. Let's take a look. He wants to know, do you stay at your desk most of the time or go searching for things? And if you stay at your desk, do you have 100 people around you or do you have a mini room, what some of us might call an office?
Well, when I'm here at the office, which is probably 8 months of the year, I share it with one other person, but we work in an area where there are multiple offices all next to each other of the scientists who work on the EV Nautilus. So we're always in close contact with each other so that we can work together on things and plan for the future. And I am not good at sitting still for very long amounts of time. So I try to break up my day and do certain tasks in the morning and then take a little bit of a break and maybe go talk with people and collaborate on future things and then come back and analyze some data in the afternoon. So I don't spend too much time sitting at my desk.
Well, Nicole, I can't believe this, but we are already out of time. That just went so fast. We want to thank you for joining us and inspiring us. And I'm sure everybody will be watching this summer and into the fall on Nautilus Live. And we'll keep up with your adventures out there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before the summer hits, we have more STEM role models coming up. Our series continues next week. Let me show you who we have coming up. Next Thursday, May 23rd, we have Shri Bose. She's a 19-year-old. She's currently a Harvard undergrad, but she was the winner of the first ever Google Science Fair for research that she did in high school on improving the effectiveness of an ovarian cancer drug. We have a few more events coming up after that as well. If you go to jason.org/live, you can see them all. Our full schedule is always posted there. And Facebook and Twitter. If you follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, we will send you the latest updates on all of our live events as they come up. All right, that is it for today. Again, my name is Patrick Shea for Jason Live. Thank you for joining. That's all with the time we have. We'll see you next time. Take care.